Everyone thought that he was an emo loser, but he turns out to be the strongest demon slayer who saves the world. Leon Lewis is a 17-year-old moody edgelord with mommy issues and zero common sense. This angsty teen lives with his father Lewis in a world where demons lurk among humans and prey on them in secret. As Mackay Knights, Leon and Lewis have supernatural powers and incredible armors to hunt down these horrors. Speaking of Lewis, he is an equal parts badass demon-slaying knight and a walking midlife crisis. But together, this dysfunctional father-son duo is humanity's last line of defense against a world crawling with horrors. It turns out that Leon and Lewis are living on the borders of Valiente Kingdom, where the brainless King Fernando, on the advice of his advisor Mendoza, starts a cruel witch hunt to destroy magic users. But the people don't know that these magic users are the Mackay Knights and Alchemists, the secret heroes who protect humans from horrors. 17 years ago, during one of these hunts, a Mackay alchemist named Anna was burned at the stake while giving birth to her son, Leon. That's when his father Lewis saved him, and now he is raising him to become the next Golden Knight named Garo. After 17 years, when Mendoza gets a report that father-son duo are causing troubles on the borders of the kingdom, he sends the soldiers to hunt them down, fearing that it might be Anna's child. But as soon as the soldiers attack his hut, Leon appears before them, announcing that he has inherited the blood of Mackay Knights, and soon he waves his sword in the air and transforms into the legendary Golden Knight Garo. He jumps in the air and brutally attacks the army's commander, beating the shit out of his frail body. In a fierce battle, the commander transforms into a cursed horror, but Leon slams him on the ground and uses his incredible sword to slash his body. After the battle gets over, Lewis comes to his son, who is acting all grumpy because his father was busy having fun with a woman instead of saving him. But he informs Leon that this battle was the last part of his training, and now it's time for them to go to the kingdom again and take revenge for Anna. On the other hand, the only son of the king, Prince Alfonso, has turned 20, and he is all set to become the next king of the kingdom of Valiente, as a token of her. Soon Lewis reaches a white-haired watchdog witch who looks like a wimp but has an insane sense of smell. Lewis accuses her for being a bitch who gave orders to assassinate the alchemists of the kingdom. She denies the charges, saying that it was all done by an imposter, and Lewis was too dumb for not noticing the sinister plan. She informs him that all communication from the watchdog center was shut down and fake orders were sent out. And the person who was behind all this is Minister Mendoza, a Mackay priest who was once strongly supported by the council. Lewis tells the watchdog witch that the Mendoza guy is controlling the horrors right now, and when he looked through the council's document, he found that everything had been stolen. Hearing this, the witch asks him to eliminate the horrors and eliminate Mendoza too, if necessary. After returning, Lewis tells Leon that they should continue with their journey, and he should stop being a depressed piece of shit if he wants to sleep with the ladies of the kingdom. Hearing this, Leon angrily jumps on his father and asks him to stop vomiting garbage because he is insulting his dead mother. On the other hand, Mendoza uses his nasty tricks and accuses the queen of poisoning the king in order to help her son Alfonso take over the throne quickly. The dipshit even goes on to question if Alfonso is really the son of the king or she was sleeping around with other men. The queen tries to defend herself, but Mendoza orders the soldiers to arrest her. After walking for some time, Lewis sells his horses and gets attached to another woman who is disgustingly smooching his face right in front of Leon. Lewis picks the woman in his army, bids his son goodbye. Liam curses his father and wonders how her mother fell in love with a pervert like him. Nevertheless, he starts walking around the city and soon comes across the place where her mother was brutally burned to death. An ugly worker who is sweeping the ashes casually tells Leon that many young girls are disappearing from the kingdom and the priest has caught another witch. At night, Leon tells his father about the disappearances, and Lewis tells him that the witch that is captured could be a Mackay priest. When Leon asks how the hell he knows that, he replies that he was not just playing around with women, but also digging for information on the happenings in the kingdom. He tells Leon to help him save the witch because she can be a valuable ally. When Leon asks why a Mackay witch was so easily caught by the priest, he replies that Mackay alchemists are not allowed to harm normal humans, so she couldn't do much to save herself. Soon Leon and Lewis enter the prison where the witch Ima is held captive. However, they see that the evil priest has transformed into a horror, ready to attack the witch. Lewis asks Leon to take charge, and the boy jumps on the priest and punches him in the gut and attacks him with a sword. On the other hand, Lewis greets the witch and tells her that he is here to save him, but the witch tells him to stop being a pain in her ass because she doesn't need any help. Soon she unties herself and jumps out to help Leon, but he asks her to get out of her way. Suddenly the horror flies away, but Leon lands on the ashes of his mother, and soon his body starts burning with a strange sensation, and soon he transforms into the Golden Knight. Ima, who is fighting with the horror, is spellbound to see that a young boy like him has turned out to be a Golden Knight. Leon unleashes his energy and sends off flames all around, and Lewis realizes that his son has been taken over by a burning rage. He quickly transforms into a knight to stop Leon from causing more damage. He asks a raging Leon to look away from the fire within him and not get consumed by it, and finally he stabs Leon with his sword to help him come back to his senses. On the other hand, Ima gets rid of the evil priest and the horror. Later, Alfonso learns about her mother's arrest and quickly runs off with his horse to help her. But the queen asks him to escape because Mendoza has betrayed them, and she asks him to come back again when he is stronger and reclaim the kingdom, just like the legendary Knight of the Light. So Alfonso decides to run away and come back later to save his parents and the kingdom. The next day, when Lewis and Leon are sitting in an inn discussing their next plan of action, when Ima visits them. Seeing her, Leon starts behaving like a madman again, but Lewis butts in and asks her to join them for drinks. After some small talk, Lewis tells Ima that he has asked Priest Gal, the highest level priest of the district, to repair the Manu ring for Leon to help him become a full-fledged golden knight. Soon she looks at Leon's bruised arm that connects him to his mother's memories, and she feels sorry for the little boy who lost her mother so young. The next morning, the father and son head to the mountain to meet Gal and get the ring. But Gal's student mistakes them for horrors and starts attacking. He soon realizes they are Gal's special guests and gets a harsh scolding from the priest for his stupidity. On seeing young Leon, Gal gets flashbacks of 16 years ago when Luz came to him with an infant asking him to get his wife's magical ring fixed. On hearing the news of Anna's death, Gal's student Marcelo sobbed like a kid. Lewis asked Gizel to repair the ring for him so Leon could inherit Garo when he became an adult. After the usual greetings, Gal assures Leon to not worry about the Zaruba flames much because one day he will be guided down the right path by these flames. He tells Leon that his eyes resemble the eyes of his grandfather, who was the previous Garo and fought many battles alongside Gal. However, when Gal goes inside the cave to carry out the rituals and bring the ring to German, his student Marcelo turns into a knight and kills Gal. He steals the ring and escapes from the cave, but he is stopped by Ima on his way. Ima looks at him suspiciously and asks him to give the ring back to her. But when Marcelo doesn't listen to her, she traps him with her silver threads. She snatches the ring from him, but suddenly an explosion rocks the forest and Leon and Lewis come running to Marcelo. He lies to them, saying that a Makai witch has stolen the ring and killed Gal. Hearing this, Leon runs in that direction, and soon they both get engaged in a sword fight. Leon asks her to return the Zaruba, but Ima tells him that Marcelo has turned into a horror and he still has the Zaruba. On the other hand, Marcelo takes Lewis to the cave where the dead Gal is still lying on the floor. Then Marcelo tells Lewis that he's going to look for the ring, but Lewis stops him and asks him to show his sword. Lewis tells him that he has already seen Ima's skills and there is no way that she could have killed Gal like this. Hearing this, Marcelo turns wild again and declares that he will kill everyone with the Zaruba ring. He goes on to wear the ring, but nothing happens, so Lewis informs him that only a golden knight can form a contract with Zaruba, and it's meaningless for everyone else. Marcelo turns into a horror again and attacks the father-son duo, but they both quickly transform themselves into knights to fight with him. Soon the horror attacks the duo, causing Leon to jump in the air to dodge the attack. Lewis takes the lead and kicks the gut of the nasty horror, but a brutal fight keeps erupting between the trio. However, suddenly Ima emerges and knocks the horror with her gun. In the middle of the fight, Leon gets teleported to another realm where the Zaruba asks if he is ready to form a contract with him, and Leon agrees, but the Zaruba proposes a condition where Leon has to offer his life every new moon in return for his services. Soon the Zaruba gets embedded in Leon's armor and a strange energy surges through him. He slashes the torso of the horror with his sword and the horror erupts in thin air. After everything is over, Ima tells the duo that she had been following them all along, and then she bids them goodbye, saying that she will meet them at Santa Bard. On the other hand, the soldiers are chasing Prince Alfonso, but the king effortlessly escapes their attack. He realizes that many of the soldiers have turned into horrors by Mendoza, and they're trying to take over the kingdom. Suddenly, a demon holds Alfonso in a chokehold, but a powerful knight rescues him. Alfonso recognizes him as the legendary Knight of Valiente, the Knight of Light, and the knight asks Alfonso to follow him. On the other hand, Lewis and Liam enter the strange village where the people look at him with suspicion. Soon, Ubaldi approaches them and introduces himself as the chief of the village and asks what business they have in this village. Lewis replies that they are in the middle of a pilgrimage to the Holy Land and they investigate strange happenings. They have heard rumors of people disappearing from this village, including an official of the church and a monk. The village head asks them to back off because it's outsiders like them who bring misfortune to their peaceful village. On the outskirts of the village, they see a group of kids ganging up on a young boy. The kids tell him that their village is cursed because the boy's mom is a witch and she curses people to death. The young boy is named Alois, and Louis asks him to show them the way to his home, and soon they enter a hut where a beautiful woman named Aurelia greets them. Aurelia, the woman, tells them that her husband passed away recently, and since then, Alois has shut himself up and he always spends time with that doll he found in the woods. When Louis tells her that he is in this town to investigate, she assures him that she doesn't harm people. Aurelia asks them to stay the night at her place, and Louis happily agrees, but Leon feels like someone is watching them. At the dinner table, Aurelia tells them that there are many disappearances in the village after the death of her husband. People accuse her for that because they need a scapegoat to blame everything on. Suddenly, the door flung open and a few villagers entered the hut with axes and sticks, angrily asking her to return their kids to them. The village heads accuse Louis for being on the witch's side and helping her with the kidnappings. Aurelia replies that she knows nothing about the disappearances and Alois has nothing to do with it. When Louis tries to take Aurelia's side, the village head asks him to not interfere because they are outsiders, and soon Aurelia is arrested, but Alois escapes. Louis asks Leon to follow the kid and he will go and look out for Aurelia. Soon Louis burns the house of the village chief to distract everyone and rescues Aurelia, but they can't escape because the village head finds them. Louis asks what the hell are they planning to do with Aurelia because he knows that the villagers have nasty hobbies. The village chief asks Louis to take back Aurelia with him because all suspicions against her are cleared. On the other hand, Leon finds Alois in a strange hut in the forest. He looks around to investigate and finds that the hut is full of wooden dolls in the shape of real people. Leon takes Elios back with him and asks why he goes to that hut. He replies that the huts belong to a woodcutter who was called the town demon before his mother, and now no one visits that hut because they think that it's cursed. Leon takes Elios to his hut, and Louis tells him that there is no horror in the village except Elios, but he will take care of it by himself. Soon they hypnotize Alois, but he doesn't show any signs of horror, so Leon asks Aurelia what happened to the woodcutter. Aurelia tells them that some time back they called a ceremony to exorcise demons in order to stop misfortunes in the village. Hearing this, Leon declares that the doll of Alois is the cursed item, and he immediately runs out of the house to find Alois. Louis tries to follow him too, but the soldiers of the village trap them and he is forced to hide inside with Aurelia. The villagers are trying to enter the hut, and a scared Aurelia confessed to Louis that his husband was also part of the ceremony, but he couldn't stand it, so he tried to report it to the church. Louis realizes that the reason why Aurelia asked them to stay the night was to help her son. Meanwhile, Leon is running away with Alois, and he asks him to hand over the doll to him because it is trying to trick him, and it is a very dangerous item. Suddenly, a blue light emerges from the doll and it turns into a horror, so Leon quickly transforms into his knight form and attacks it with his sword. A brutal battle erupts between the two, and when Leon tries to kill it, Alois blocks his way and declares that he will take revenge for his father with this horror. He had seen with his own eyes that the villagers murdered his father in cold blood for trying to report to the church. On the other hand, the villagers enter the hut and try to attack them, but Louis picks up Aurelia and escapes. Soon the horror enters the hut and tries to attack the village head, but Leon comes in time and blocks its attack. He jumps in the air and knocks the horror's head and stabs it to death. Seeing this, Alois cries in pain and Aurelia hugs him, saying that she is sorry for not being able to save his father. The next day, the village headman is arrested and Alois leaves the village with his mother to start afresh. While escaping, Prince Alfonso and the Knight of the Light come across many horrors. On seeing them, Alfonso asks how Minister Mendoza is related to all these dark energies and troubles in the kingdom, so the knight tells him that Mendoza is using a forbidden Madao tool to control horrors as he wishes. He is doing this to use that power to rule over the kingdom of Valiente. On hearing this, an angry prince asks the knight to train him to become more powerful so he can save his mother and the kingdom from Mendoza. The knight introduces himself as Rafael Banderas, a friend of the late Golden Knight. The next day, Rafael takes Alfonso to an abandoned temple and points at a Golden Knight statue to tell him that long ago, people knew that horrors appeared from the Makai and consumed humans, as well as the Makai knights and priests who fought against them. But all has been forgotten, and now the ones who fight against horrors are labeled as witches and executed. The same has happened in the Valiant Kingdom, where the Macas can't lay their hands on humans, so hundreds of his comrades are murdered. Mendoza hates all the knights who fight horrors as well as their children. Rafael also tells him about Anna, who was the great witch and was executed for cursing the king, but she gave birth as she burned on the stake. Anna had a younger sister and her name is Esmeralda. While Anna had the duty to fight as Makai priest and pass down the golden armor, the younger sister was adopted by the royal family as soon as she was born. The younger sister of Anna is actually Alfonso's mother, so the prince also has the blood of the Golden Knight in his veins. Rafael informs Alfonso that Anna's son has already inherited the golden armor, and Mendoza must have realized that. When Alfonso asks if he is also strong enough to fight the horrors, Rafael strikes him with his sword, which the prince successfully dodges, and soon Raphael replies that he is not bad at sword fighting. Soon he secretly takes Alfonso to the Vatican City, and soon they rent horses to travel to the land of grapes to visit the Count of Romero of Valdona. After traveling for some time, they reach a dark and eerie village where the villagers run away in fear as soon as they see Alfonso. Raphael tells him that this is their original destination and takes him to the castle of Count of Romero. Raphael informs him that the Count might be the patron of arts and music before, but now he is no longer a human. Soon Raphael breaks open the door and asks Alfonso to follow him. Suddenly, a horror appears before them, and Raphael asks him to stay back. Soon he attacks the horror with his sword and stabs him in the mouth. Soon, Alfonso sees a musician, a young woman with a baby sobbing in front of him, and suddenly a horror emerges out of nowhere and eats the musician. Alfonso tries his best to save him, but nothing seems to be working on the horror. So Raphael unleashes his knight armor, attacks the horror with his superpower, causing flashes and lightning all around, and finally kills it. Finally, he accepts Alfonso's request to teach him everything to save the kingdom and his mother. On the other hand, Leon is having a hard time dealing with his father and his perverted dreams. He walks out of the room, and suddenly the Zaruba ring comes to life, reminding him that it's the new moon day, and as promised, the Zarbo will receive his life, and suddenly Leon falls on the ground unconscious. Luz rushes over to his side and tries to wake him up. He takes him inside the room and puts him to sleep, and soon realizes that Leon is unconscious because of the full moon and a night when the Golden Knight never appears. The next morning, Louis and Leon are in a carriage with a bunch of pretty women, and after some time, they see the outline of the city of Santabard, where Leon's mother died. As soon as they reach the city, an impatient Leon asks Louis how they will enter the castle, so he asks his son to stop getting his panties in a twist and wait for the right time. First, they need to assess the situation, so they decide to split up and collect some information. Louis first goes to the blacksmith's shop where he sees a small boy polishing a sword. Louis tells him that he wants to ask for information about the castle and the surrounding area. On hearing German, the boy's master emerges from the shop and asks if he wants to become a soldier too, and informs him that unfortunately, the exams for knighthood have ended a while ago, but he drags Louis along with him to a bar. On the other hand, Liam goes to the city market where a fat woman tries to seduce him and take advantage of him. But fortunately, Ima appears out of nowhere and saves him. She drags him along with her and mockingly asks if Liam was planning to sleep with the fatty. Liam yells at her saying that he is not a pervert like her and his dad. So Ima bumps his nose and asks him to take control of his temper, otherwise he will miss out on important things around him. Meanwhile, Louis is in the bar with the blacksmith where he learns from the bartender that the blacksmith is not just any person, but he used to serve in the municipal council earlier. When Louis asks the blacksmith about the knighthood, he informs him that sometime back the head of the army died in an accident. After that, a new knight arrived to take his place, and he had an impressive black armor and people called him the Black Knight. The man created the knighthood within the castle, and they were a group of people wearing a black armor and are called the Knighthood of Black. So in order to strengthen the new system, they began recruiting new soldiers who are separate from other soldiers. When he asked the blacksmith if these soldiers fight each to death, he nods his head in agreement. He replies that his son named Sergi is also in the regiment, but before he can explain, his head starts hurting, so he asks Louis to come meet him tomorrow for more information. The next day, Leon comes across a poor boy who was brutally beaten by the shopkeeper because he was stealing food. The blacksmith student, Giulio, tries to save him, but he is helpless, so Leon butts in and pays on the boy's behalf to rescue him. Giulio thanks Leon and tells him that once upon a time he was exactly like the beggar boy, but his master took him in and taught him the skills of a blacksmith. The blacksmith became a father figure to him, and he started living with him since then. That was the first time Giulio met Sergi, and they both started living like real siblings and big bosses, and Sergi made him a part of their family. Soon they reach the blacksmith shop where Louis is already waiting for the blacksmith. Giulio takes them inside, and they all have a hearty meal together. On hearing the entire story from Giulio, the blacksmith tells Louis that he has got a nice son, and Louis sighs, saying that he isn't growing up like he wants him to be, because he has gotten sharp and has quite a smart ass. Suddenly, the blacksmith starts feeling a headache again, but he assures them that he is fine. But when Louis and Liam continue bickering with each other, the blacksmith slams the table and asks them to leave. However, soon he calms down and apologizes to them, saying that he doesn't feel well today. Louis and Leon excuse themselves and leave the place, but Giulio comes running to them and tells them that his boss's son Sergi is no longer here because he took the test of knighthood and he died. Only the sword that his boss made for Sergi was returned to them, and since that day, his boss has been acting strange. He has also sent the workers to work in other shops, and he is acting like a stranger with Giulio, as if he has been possessed by someone. Julio leads Louis and Leon to Sardi's sword, where Louis immediately senses that something is wrong. He realizes that the gates of horrors have been opened, unleashing evil into the world. The blacksmith, once an ordinary man, has been possessed by the horror of despair. This twisted force drives him to attack the knights around him, stealing their souls and leaving chaos in his wake. The atmosphere is heavy with fear, and the once quiet streets are now filled with dread. As the blacksmith moves through the area, Julio steps forward to confront him, attempting to stop his rampage. However, the horror inside the blacksmith has consumed him entirely. Without hesitation, he turns on Julio and attacks with deadly intent. At that moment, Leon arrives just in time to save Julio from harm. Observing the situation, Louis decides to handle the blacksmith himself, knowing it will take his full strength to defeat this creature. Louis prepares for battle, transforming into a knight. His armor gleams in the dim light, a stark contrast to the darkness surrounding the blacksmith. The blacksmith, no longer resembling the man he once was, crafts another sword with unnatural speed and precision. The weapon, forged from despair, radiates malevolence. The battle begins, and it is fierce. The clanging of swords echoes through the night, creating an eerie rhythm. Sparks fly as their blades collide, illuminating the streets for brief moments. The market, usually bustling with life, becomes a battleground. People scream and scatter, seeking refuge from the fight that has overtaken their home. Louis fights with skill and determination, each swing of his sword carefully calculated. The blacksmith, driven by his despair and horror's influence, attacks with raw power. The clash between them is brutal, their movements quick and unrelenting. The ground trembles beneath their feet as they battle, each strike threatening to tip the scales in favor of either side. Despite the blacksmith's overwhelming strength, German's experience and resolve give him the upper hand. He waits for the right moment, dodging a fierce blow before striking back with precision. His blade finds its mark, piercing the blacksmith's chest. Black blood gushes from the wound, spilling onto the ground and staining the air with its foul stench. The blacksmith lets out an otherworldly cry, the sound chilling to all who hear it. His body convulses as the horror inside him begins to fade. With one final shudder, he collapses to the ground, lifeless. The city falls silent, the chaos subsiding as quickly as it began. Julio cries like a baby after the death of the blacksmith, and Luz tries to console him by saying that people are fragile creatures whose strong emotions crumble with the slightest crack, so he should look out for himself and his future. Soon Julio takes up his boss's shop, wondering if he would be able to become a respected man like the boss. At night, Louis meets Ima and learns from her that to become a Black Knight, one has to pass a test in a strange room. Once a female servant heard loud screams of someone begging to be saved coming from the room, so whether they win or lose, the knights are turned into horrors under the orders of Mendoza. In the inn, Leon impatiently asks Louis when will they storm into the castle, so Louis tells him to wait until the ladies bring information for them, that they will only enter the castle when they will learn what's happening inside its four walls. Leon kicks his father out of the room and goes on to sleep. In the middle of the night, a fat lady comes with a group of knights asking the innkeeper to open his guest's room because she is sure that it is Prince Alfanoso in disguise. Soon the knights storm inside Leon's room, and as soon as they try to attack him, he kicks a few of them and escapes. He fights with a few knights on his way, but suddenly the knights turn into horrors and he soon realizes what's happening inside the castle. Suddenly a samurai who was looking at everything from above jumps down the tower and charges towards Leon, who blocked his attack. He kicks Leon in the gut and sends him flying across the wall, and soon he transforms into a knight with an eerie aura. Seeing this, Leon too wears his knight armor and starts running across the roofs to make the knight follow him. Soon they crash on the ground and Leon turns out to be too weak against the Black Knight. He goes on to kill Leon, but Ima saves him. But soon he attacks Leon with his power and sends him out of Ima's reach. The next day, Leon wakes up in an apothecary and realizes that he has lost some of his memories. The doctor tells him that it is due to the injury and he will remember everything soon enough. He gives Leon a potion, and his granddaughter tells him that he had been attacked by a werewolf. The old doctor tells him that there are werewolves in this town and they look and live like ordinary people, but they show their true colors as wolves during the full moon and eat humans. But it's just a legend, so Leon probably just fell off the bridge and got hurt. Soon he hears the sound of a flute and the children run towards him, and the old man asks Leon to accompany his granddaughter Agatha to the church. On their way, Agatha tells him that they are going to the almshouse church, and Agatha tells the nun that her brother Pepe has returned. It turns out that Agatha thinks that Leon is her older brother named Pepe. On hearing this, the nun gets bewildered, wondering how the hell did Pepe return. When Leon asks what she knows about him, the nun feels like Pepe has lost memories and goes on to tell him lies about saving his life from a bunch of travel entertainers. Leon can't seem to wrap his head around all this and feels like something is off, so he goes to the apothecary again to investigate. He realizes that the oldie is also a Makai priest and threatens him to tell what he mixed in his medicine before. The oldie hag replies that he had given him a potion of dreams to erase his memories and hypnotize him into a dream. When Leon asks why he did that, he replies that it was all for the young girl Agatha, who is the daughter of his only closest priest friend. But after she was born, both her father died and her mother remarried a barber, and the barber had a son named Pepe, and Agatha became close to him. But 5 years ago, the barber and her wife were killed by the vigilantes on the rumor that they both were werewolves. So Pepe hid Agatha behind a roof and ran out of the house, and since then he has been missing. There are rumors that a group of traveling entertainers took him away, or he might have been sold to a slave boat. An angry Leon asks the old hag why he replaced him with Agatha's brother, so he replies that he wanted Agatha to experience a happy dream, and he wanted Leon to give up fighting and live with them. Soon they hear the church's bell, and the oldie starts worrying about Agatha, so Leon runs to the church to find her. In the church, he sees the sad nun and accuses her of selling the children to save traders and travel entertainers, and asks her about Agatha. And soon he runs to the bridge where the Pied Piper is taking Agatha and a few children along with him. He saves a child from that monster and tells the Pied Piper, who has turned into a horror, that he should stop taking revenge. It turns out that the Pied Piper is the horror of Pepe when he was sold to the travel entertainers. The people there used to beat him every day, so one day he murdered one of the men and soon turned into a horror. However, despite his sob story, Leon chooses to not show any mercy to him. He goes on to fight with him, saying that he will cut him down. After a brutal show of power, Leon manages to slay the horror and tells the kids that they are safe now. Seeing him, the kids run away in fear, screaming that they have seen a horror. Soon Leon returns to his German, who tells him that he has heard from Ima that he lost to the Dark Knight. He tells Leon that he won't lend him his strength and he would have to deal with the Dark Knight on his own. It turned out that last night, Louis was in the city market when a young woman approached him, claiming she was being chased. Shortly after, a group of rogues appeared and demanded Louis to hand over the woman to them. When he refused, they called him an annoying bastard and began chasing him to retrieve the woman. While running, he learned that her name was Irene, and she led him to a good hiding spot. They entered an old hut, and Louis suggested they wait there until things settled down. Irene thanked him and explained that the rogues had harassed her in a pub once, so she had hit one of them with a wine bottle and fled. Unfortunately, she had run into them by chance in the market that day, prompting them to follow her. Grateful for his help, Louis asked for a kiss in return for saving her life, and she gladly agreed. However, things took a strange turn when Louis suddenly stripped naked. Just then, the door swung open and the rogues stormed in, demanding to know what Louis was doing naked. Louis urged Iron to run, but to his shock, Iron grabbed his coin pouch and stood with the rogues. It turned out that she was part of the gang, which lured travelers into traps to rob them. The men then began chasing a now-naked German, forcing him to run through the streets to escape. Chaos erupted in the city as Louis ran, and soon even the knights joined the pursuit. Desperate for cover, Louis found a laundry shop and borrowed a bedsheet from a woman there to hide his nakedness. However, the knights arrived soon after and shot an arrow at the woman. Louis managed to catch the arrow in midair, saving her. The woman urged him to run and save himself, and he continued his escape with the knights hot on his trail. Just as things seemed hopeless, Ima came to his rescue. She used her silver thread to latch onto a pole, causing the knights and their horses to trip and crash headfirst. Later, Ima told him everything about Leon being defeated by the Black Knight named Bernardo Dian. When Louis asked where his son was, she told him that he barely escaped death. So Louis replies that this incident will remind Leon that he is still not strong enough to deal with his enemies and he will be able to realize what he's missing. Then Louis went to the white-haired watchdog witch again and asked her why she did not tell him about Bernardo before. She casually replied that he would have appeared in the picture as long as he chased after Mendoza, and she kept her mouth shut to prevent German's heart from wavering. Because Bernardo has been turned and he is a well-known Black Knight right now. It turns out that Anna, Louis, and Bernardo were childhood friends who used to train and have fun together. He once told Louis that sometimes he feels like going against the duties of the Makai Knight. Then one day, while escaping the soldiers who were chasing them during a witch hunt, Anna hurt herself and Bernardo asked Louis to take his horse and escape with Anna while he dealt with the soldiers. He stayed there to fight the soldiers, while Louis took Anna away, but Bernardo couldn't stand in front of knights and soon he was badly injured and he joined the Imperial Army to become the Black Knight. At night, when Louis goes to the old hut again to get his clothes back, he finds Iron sobbing and begging to save her from Donato, who has turned into a monster. At first, Louis thinks that she is tricking him again, but soon he sees a horror-stricken Donato and asks Iron to give his clothes back. Suddenly, Donato charges at him and attacks his naked body, but Louis manages to dodge his attacks. Soon a brutal fight begins between the two and finally Louis stabs him. Once Donato is dead, Luz warns Irene that if she keeps doing bad things, then she will also turn Lycan one day. Meanwhile, Raphael is training Prince Alfonso, and he knows that he doesn't have much time left because he is suffering from a deadly disease. He goes to the watchdog witch Garum and asks her to lend him a brutal horror to train his student. So the witch gives him the Chimera of Orvian, which is a horror that appears occasionally along an old highway, and humans call it Orvian. It can swallow entire villages and towns, and its body is covered with the remains of its victims. A few have tried to hunt him, but no one has returned, so it might be a little too much for the prince to train with. But Raphael accepts the offer, saying that he doesn't have much time. Soon after, Liam comes to Garum, saying that he is training alone, so he needs a horror to train with, so Garum gives one to him too. Raphael returns to Alfonso and informs him that they are going to go on a mission to hunt a horror. They don't have much time because Mendoza is planning on something brutal, and he will fill the land of Valiant with horrors any time, and once he does that, there would be no way to stop him. Hearing this, Alfonso angrily asks him what he is supposed to do, so Raphael tells him that there is a horror on the Orvian highway and many knights have failed to defeat him. The next day, Raphael tells Alfonso that if he will succeed in this mission, he will get his own knight armor, and soon the prince goes on his mission. Meanwhile, Liam is also on his way to the Orvian highway because Garum had sent him to fight the Chimera too. Soon he sees Alfonso and his shopkeeper bickering with each other. The shopkeeper accidentally bumped into Alfonso and broke his pot, and now he is asking Alfonso to pay for the same. Leon picks up one of the pieces and announces that it looks like any old unglazed pot that one can find anywhere, and asks the shopkeeper to stop behaving like a brat. After being exposed in front of everyone, the man runs away, and Leon asks Alfonso to be careful of these tricks, and then he saves Alfonso from a bunch of women and takes him to a local inn. They both introduce themselves to each other, and when Leon learns that his name is Alfonso, he asks if he would be okay with this name because everyone in the city is looking for the prince whose name is also Alfonso. Alfonso replies that he would be fine, and soon they go their separate ways. At night, Leon heads toward the bridge, determined to confront the horror. On his way, he notices Alfonso running in the same direction. Leon does not recognize Alfonso and assumes he's a horror, so he starts chasing him. Eventually, they come face to face and are both surprised to see each other again. However, they do not reveal their true reasons for being there and instead walk side by side. Leon suggests Alfonso should return to the inn, but Alfonso refuses, saying he has a mission to complete. It becomes clear they both have the same goal. As they approach the cliff, a strong gust of wind sweeps past their faces. They run toward the edge and see a massive, terrifying structure adorned with skulls and eerie artifacts. The structure moves and suddenly attacks them with a spade. Fortunately, they dodge the attack. The two begin arguing over who will fight the Chimera, but neither backs down. Leon insists he must defeat the horror to become a Makai Knight. The Chimera, however, focuses its attacks on Alfonso, who wields only an ordinary sword. Despite this disadvantage, Alfonso refuses to give up. Liam takes the lead against the Chimera's scythe-like attacks, allowing Alfonso to focus on finding the Chimera's weak spot. The fight begins in earnest. Alfonso climbs on top of the structure, searching for the true Chimera, while Leon battles the skulls surrounding it. Alfonso dodges the Chimera's strikes and manages to attack the door of the structure. For a moment, the Chimera stops moving, but then the door bursts open, releasing a strange surge of energy. The ground burns and fields nearby are consumed in flames. Leon warns Alfonso that continuing the battle will put the villages and towns at risk. Without hesitation, Leon transforms into a knight and charges at the Chimera. He aims his blade at its massive mouth while dodging its relentless attacks. The Chimera traps Leon between its sharp teeth, leaving Alfonso in shock. He wonders if he can save Leon or if the situation is beyond his control. Just then, Master Raphael appears on the bridge. He tells Alfonso that once a warrior takes up the sword, there is no turning back. A knight must fight until their last breath. Raphael draws his sword and transforms into the Knight of the Light. With unwavering determination, he charges toward the Chimera to save Leon. Raphael unleashes a powerful attack on the Chimera, but it retaliates by stabbing him with its tentacles. Severely wounded, Raphael tells Alfonso to take his blade and accept the responsibility of becoming a Makai Knight. In his final moments, he declares that his armor, the armor of Gaia, now belongs to Alfonso. Then the Chimera swallows Raphael whole. Alfonso is overcome with fear and grief, but realizes he cannot let his master's sacrifice be in vain. He picks up Raphael's sword, and a surge of energy flows through him. With newfound courage and determination, he transforms into a knight. Clad in the armor of Gaia, Alfonso charges at the Chimera with heroic resolve. The Chimera launches a final desperate attack, but Alfonso's strength and speed prove too much for it. With one decisive blow, he strikes the Chimera, shattering its monstrous form. The horror is finally defeated. Later, Alfonso cries for his dead master and swears on his blade that he will fulfill his master's wish to protect the kingdom and its people, while Leon looks at him from afar. Leon offers to bury the sword of Master Raphael, but Alfonso replies that he will carry on the memory of his master and fight with it, just like Leon inherited the armor from his mother. Leon is surprised to learn that Alfonso knows him, so Alfonso tells him that everyone on this land knows about the Night of Light. Leon replies that he is not that great. His goal is to eliminate Mendoza and the horrors, so Alfonso tells him that their goals are the same and they both promise to fight together. The next morning, Leon goes out to get some food and meets Ema on his way, who practically saves his life again from the Knights. Then she follows Leon to meet Alfonso and introduces herself to him and expresses her pleasure to meet the prince. She tells him that German, who only thinks about his lower half, is technically his uncle, and soon they hear German's screams. He's being chased by a man again, and this time he seems to have done something with his wife. Soon, Alfonso comes face to face with Louis and asks Leon to stop beating his father. Then he introduces himself, and suddenly Louis holds him close and says that he looks like his dead wife Anna. Then suddenly he gets dramatic AF and screams in fear that Anna might have a secret son from another man, and then he walks out of the hut saying that he needs some time alone. Ema bursts out laughing, saying that it's the first time she has seen Louis so flustered, and Alfonso asks Leon to clear the misunderstanding quickly. Ema asks them to leave Louis alone, and Leon agrees because he wants his father to taste his own medicine. Ema replies that Louis loved Anna very much and that has caused all the misunderstanding. Later, Alfonso explains the roadmap of the castle of Santa Bard, which is built on top of the cliff. The eastern cliff still has the entrance to the old temple, and it's a royal escape route that only few are aware of, and Mendoza also knows about it. But they don't know how many horrors Mendoza has prepared, so they can't attack without information. Ema informs them that the Zirkel Circle is a forbidden Madao tool that allows one to control horrors, and Mendoza was exiled by the council because he stole it. It turns out that Mendoza was punished by the Makai head for using the Zirkel Circle to kill humans and use their blood for tests. So he was branded with the curse and exiled from the council. But the king took him in because his medicine had healed many in the kingdom. He asked Mendoza to stay with him for a while, and he gladly accepted the offer. Soon the king started taking Mendoza's advice on wars and started achieving great victories. He used horrors to defeat the enemy, and the king rewarded him with a beautiful girl named Angelina, the daughter of his best friend, to be Mendoza's wife. One day, his wife gave birth to a baby boy, but Mendoza killed him because, as the curse said, his bloodline would have the tainted blood and they won't be able to become Makai Knights. Since then, Mendoza became an enemy of Makai Knights and witches and started a witch hunt against them. He got Maid Octavia on his side on the condition that she won't touch him. In the present, when he hears about Prince Alfonso and his glory, he asks Bernardo to crush him without holding back. On the other hand, Leon kicks the depressed ass of Louis and asks how long he is preparing to sit like a saint and mourn for Anna. Alfonso addresses him as uncle and tells him that he will take them to the castle of Santa Bard. Louis tells Alfonso that he has made up his mind to take him in as his son because he is Anna's son too, and Leon is ready to kick his ass again for being so dumb. Soon Louis bursts out laughing when he learns that Anna had a little sister and Alfonso is her son, so that makes Louis the uncle of the next king. Later, when Louis asks Ema why she cares about Leon so much, she replies that it's because the markings on his body are very dangerous and they respond aggressively to his defensive instincts. Louis replies that those markings are his mother's love, the only thing Anna left for Leon. Soon Ema bids them goodbye and tells Louis that she can't accompany them anymore because she is hunting for a specific horror. Louis bids her goodbye and asks her to have a drink with him if he comes back alive. After a while, they reach the entrance of the temple, and Alfonso tells them that his mother must be imprisoned in the prisoner's tower, and they can only enter it after crossing a narrow bridge. But now he has not come to save his mother, but to save his kingdom, and then he walks inside. Leon and Louis follow him and climb up the tower, and they realize that Mendoza has taken control of everything. Louis can't believe that they built a castle over a temple, and everything about this castle is so creepy. Soon they come to a ritual place where blood is flowing through narrow drains and a strange bloody smell is all over the place. Before they can head back up, horrors start dropping from the ceiling of the room, but they narrowly escape the place and reach the cathedral, where they meet German's old-time friend Bernard. Louis asks Leon and Alfonso to lead Bernard to him and go ahead with their mission, and they hesitantly agree to him. Soon they start fighting like cats and dogs, and Louis sends Bernard flying across the room in one attack. So Bernard transforms into the Black Knight, but Louis sits on the ground and declares that he will fight with him only when he tells him how and when he joined the evil Mendoza. Bernard yells at him, saying that he shouldn't mess with him and draw his sword to attack him. When Louis doesn't listen to him, he drops a piece of ceiling on him, but Louis still stays still. Seeing this, Bernard gets a flashback of time when he was trapped from all sides by the Imperial army. It was then he realized that humans are weak, shallow creatures, and it's a waste of time to protect them from horrors, so he chokes the military commander. But suddenly, he is reminded of Anna's words that humans are needed to be protected because they can easily go down the wrong path. But soon he hears that 2 knights have been found injured at the gates, and fearing that they might be his friends Anna and German, he goes mad and breaks the Makai rule by killing the humans. Then he runs to save Anna, but he comes across Mendoza, who burns his old body and replaces him with another. He asks Bernard to stop saving humans but rule them to achieve all the power. Mendoza asks him to join him and become a person who can go against Makai knights. Hearing his story, Louis yells at him for being a dumbass and transforms into a knight, saying that from now on he will not consider him as his brother Bernard anymore. German's fury ignites as he transforms into a knight, his armor glinting with cold, unyielding light. Bernard stands firm, his body tense with defiance radiating raw power. They clash violently, German's blades slicing through the air while Bernard counters with brutal punches, their strikes echoing like thunder. The battle spills into the open, their movements a savage dance under the moonlight. Bernard unleashes his magnificent gun, its barrel glowing ominously, while German's knight horse morphs into a colossal bullet. Both forces collide in a deafening explosion, the shockwave hurling them in opposite directions. As the dust settles, they both find themselves collapsed on the ground. Louis asks him to stop, but Bernardo stabs him with his drill hand, saying that he will get rid of him, but Louis has a different trick saved for him. He calls his blade, and it comes slashing through Bernard's neck, and Louis holds his friend in his arms. In his last breath, Bernard turns back to his real self and asks Louis what happened to Anna, so Louis lies to him that she is safe. Bernard asks Louis to keep her safe and find someone to inherit his sword, and soon he disappears in the air, and Louis sobs for his dear friend. On the other hand, after killing a horror, Leon and Alfonso are climbing downstairs to find Mendoza, and soon they find him. An angry Leon tries to attack him, but they realize that they are inside his barrier and mock him for being so impatient. Soon he extracts something out of the mirror, and Alfonso immediately recognizes that it's the forbidden tool that Ima told them about that summons horrors from Makai. Mendoza tells them that it's easy because he uses human blood as the medium, and the king didn't know that it had been happening under his nose. Soon a horrendous horror emerges from the mirror portal, and Leon and Alfonso turn into knights to face it. Leon charges his sword and attacks the horror with all his might, sending flames all around the place, and Alfonso helps him. Mendoza declares that the summoning of the Blood Moon is almost complete, and soon recognizes Leon as the child born out of the Burning Witch. An angry Leon attacks him with his sword, but Mendoza casts magic and freezes him. Then he touches his forehead, and Leon gets reminded of her mother's last moments. Mendoza continues to infuriate him by saying that his mother was brutally abused, stoned, and then burned on the stake. Alfonso yells at him to not get deceived by the evil Mendoza and lose himself. He immediately kicks the horror and goes to Leon's side to bring him back to his senses. But something takes over Leon, and soon the tower starts burning with flames, and he soon turns into a horrendous knight. Mendoza evilly smiles and tells the prince that it's the true form of the golden armor that was given to Leon by Sin. Soon Leon escapes the tower, and Alfonso follows him, stopping him from causing harm to the village. The village starts burning under Leon's wrath, and Alfonso wonders if this is the real face of the Golden Knight who is supposed to save the world, but he can't even save himself from his own feelings. Alfonso apologizes to Louis and goes on to attack Leon, but an injured Louis tells him to hit the emblem on Leon's hip and his armor will come off. He begs Alfonso to do this quickly before he falls into the hole of darkness. Alfonso jumps toward Leon, trying to stop him, but Leon is completely out of control. Just then, Ima arrives and shoots a freezing arrow at Leon, slowing him down. This gives Alfonso enough time to strike Leon's emblem with his sword. The hit shatters Leon's armor, and he begins to fall into the dark sky. Louis watches helplessly, tears running down his face, feeling guilty for failing to stop Leon's quest for revenge even after 17 years. Before Leon can hit the ground, Ima uses her magic to lower a tower to catch him. She tells Louis to hold Leon, and he quickly obeys. Moments later, Leon safely lands in German's arms. Soon Alfonso also comes to them, and they see the horror emerging out of the castle. Alfonso tells Louis that he also has the blood of a golden knight in his veins, transforms into a knight, and gets ready to fight the evil horror again. He jumps at the horror with all his might and attacks him with his knight's sword, but he ends up in the belly of the beast. But suddenly the beast's belly bursts and Alfonso emerges from it. Suddenly Mendoza flies towards Alfonso, but the beast devours him and Alfonso quickly slits his belly. After some time, Leon comes back to his senses and asks for his armor, and Louis tells him that the armor has accepted Alfonso as Garo and Leon can no longer wear it. When Leon learns that Mendoza also died abruptly, he begs Alfonso to give back his armor, but he declines because he doesn't deserve to have it back after destroying the city. When Leon disagrees with him, Luis punches him in the face and asks him to accept the reality that he is not a Makai Knight anymore. Leon walks away and Luis hopes that he will stand back on his feet again. The next morning, the prince goes to meet the people of his castle and then his bedridden mother in the prison. He learns that his mother took her own life because she didn't want to be a burden on him, and Alfonso mourns his mother's death. Alfonso does the last rites of his mother, and then he goes to the castle to reassure everyone that he will devote himself for the happiness of the people and the kingdom of Valiente. Everyone is happy to have Prince Alfonso back in the kingdom, saying that there is nothing to worry about because Prince Alfonso is on his side. On the other hand, Leon and Luis are separated from each other. An injured Luis is taken in by the laundry woman who is taking care of him, while Leon's injuries are tended to by a village girl named Lara. After 10 days, Leon finally speaks to Lara, and the girl calls her grandparents and mother. They serve him food, and when Leon asks why they saved him, the grandmother jokes around saying that it would have been difficult for them to dispose of his body, so it's better he recover quickly and leave as soon as he can. The next morning, the old hag sends Leon to accompany her granddaughter Lara to the house of the Lord. On their way, Lara tells him everything about the town's management and the importance of lords on their land. They take a break for some time and Lara goes on to plant onions while Leon takes some rest. Later, while returning home, she tells him that when her father was alive, he used to hunt a lot of things and they had a great supper every night, but one day her father was killed by the wolves. Hearing this, Leon wonders if he was killed by a horror, but he doesn't say much to avoid scaring Lara. Meanwhile, Prince Alfonso is fulfilling his duties as the king and the Garo Knight along with his uncle German. During the day, he listens to the grievances of the people of his kingdom, and during the night, he kills horrors to fulfill his duty as the Garo Knight. One day, Alfonso asks about Leon's whereabouts, but Luis tells him that he has no clue, and it is up to Leon if he wishes to stand up and fight again or give up. He declares that he can't help and neither can anyone else. He asks Alfonso to stop holding on to guilt of taking Leon's armor and go on with his duties as the Garo Knight. The next morning, Lara and Leon go to the fields to take care of onions again. During the break, Leon asks Lara if she gets sick of doing the same thing every day and thinks of giving up everything and leaving. Lara replies that there are many beautiful places in the kingdom, but she can't leave her father's place and she has already planted many seeds for the autumn, and soon they will harvest the crop. Slowly, days start passing and Leon becomes healthy, helping Lara's family and running different errands. One day, he goes to the grandpa to deliver lunch and learns about the irrigation canal that he is digging for the crops. Soon, Leon learns how to dig a canal and he returns home tired. He is beginning to eat more and sleep well because he works hard every day. Soon, the canal gets ready and the water flows to the wheat fields and everyone thanks Leon for his help. Alfonso keeps visiting his father regularly, asking him to get well soon because the people are waiting for him. He keeps himself busy with boring subjects like astronomy, mathematics, theology, philosophy, then he attends to the pending matters of the kingdom. Alfonso didn't know that you would have to deal with all the boring shit like attending parties, aristocratic meetings. One day, on his way to get his portrait made, Alfonso escapes the castle and the knights are sent to search for him. Alfonso boards the carriage, prioritizing the welfare of his kingdom over sitting for a portrait artist. As the carriage moves, the gentle rocking lulls him to sleep. He awakens later to the sound of angry shouts. Looking outside, he sees a group of rogues blocking the path. They threaten the driver, demanding the horse and carriage in exchange for his life. Frightened, the driver recognizes them as the infamous rogues of Gaspard Montes and flees, leaving Alfonso behind. Hearing Gaspard's name, Alfonso recalls a warning from Levisel villagers. They spoke of thieves taking over Count Jus' castle and wreaking havoc in the region. Alfonso remembers Count Jus as a noble warrior who had left his family to fight for the kingdom, only for his castle to fall into the hands of criminals. The rogues suddenly toss a frightened young boy into the carriage before returning to their heated argument. Alfonso quickly signals the boy to stay quiet, assessing the situation carefully. On the other hand, while walking to the fields with Lara, Leon finds Ima on the way. She tells him that she is going on another trip. Leon asks her about Santa Bard and Ima tells him that the town has completely returned to normal and Alfonso is fitting perfectly in the role of the Golden Knight. Meanwhile, the thieves reach the castle, and as soon as they remove the cover of the carriage, the prince comes out of it and lands a blow on them. Their leader goes on to punch the prince, but he ends up making a huge hole in the wall, while Alfonso dodges him. But suddenly Luz comes out of the castle and the prince is bewildered to see his uncle with a band of thieves. Soon they have lunch together and the chief calls Luz his boss, saying that he never knew that he would catch German's nephew. That's when Alfonso learns that Gaspard are not a band of thieves, but the people of Levisel keep fighting with them for personal reasons. The boy they had caught once disrespected the chief's daughter, so they brought him with them. so technically they were the ones who started the fight first. The chief's daughter defends the boy named Morrow, saying that he only gave her a letter full of wonderful words. Lewis replies that both the kids like each other, so the chief should stop poking his nose around. But the stubborn chief says that he has brought the kid with him to demand for some ransom money from his banker parents. After some time, Alfonso asks what the hell is Lewis doing with them, and he learns that Lewis is here to collect flowers for someone he likes. But Morrow suddenly yells at them, saying that the white lilies are cursed because they were grown by Count Juice's wife, who was a witch. Isabel, the Count's wife, was afraid that her beauty would vanish while waiting for Juice, so kidnapped girls in the area to drink their blood. Lord Roland, who loves Isabel too, tried to stop her, but she killed him and hid his body somewhere. So one day, Lord Juice returned and killed his wife and himself, and since then, the lilies are cursed. Hearing his stupid story, the chief slams the boy on his head and angrily leaves the table. After everyone leaves, Alfonso appreciates his uncle, who came before him to check if there were any horrors in this region, pretending that he came to pick flowers for some woman. At night, Fana, the chief's daughter, storms into the prison and tells Morrow that she has come to save him, but she accidentally ends up pressing a brick that opens a flight of stairs to the basement in front of them. When they both climb down the stairs, they see a skeleton and a man intertwined together. On seeing this, Morrow exclaims that Isabel really was a witch, as everyone said. But suddenly, in an accident, Morrow ends up removing the seal on Juice, and soon his horror walks free. On the other hand, Lewis and Alfonso discover Isabel's diary, and they learn that she was a Mackay priest too, and both Count Juice and Lord Ronald became horrors first. But it looks like Ronald became a horror first, because his one wish to become stranger that Juice never came true, and he became jealous of Juice's strength and became a horror himself. But horrors adopted their host's personality and acted as rivals and competed to see who would consume more humans than the other. So they moved from war to war, attacking and drinking the blood of young girls. So upon finding that, Isabel sealed Ronaldo in the castle, and then she used her own blood to seal her husband in the basement, and she died in the process. The white lilies are the Madu tools she used to seal horrors. Suddenly, they hear a loud scream. Alfonso and Morrow come out of the basement to find Juice holding Fana captive. Meanwhile, the chief is overtaken by Ronaldo's horrors, turning into a powerful monster. Juice and the chief clash, their rivalry pushing them to their limits. Juice escapes with Fana, and Alfonso chases him to the rooftop of the castle. There, Juice traps Fana with his tentacles and prepares to drain her blood. Alfonso strikes Juice's tongue with his sword, thinking he has won, but Juice rises again. He throws Fana into the air and stops Alfonso from saving her. Alfonso transforms into a knight and defeats Juice. However, Fana falls from the roof. At the last moment, Morrow catches her but collapses from the effort. Julio, the adopted son of the blacksmith, has inherited his shop from his father, and the people around him have given him support. He has gathered skilled craftsmen of the town, and they all work towards creating the kingdom's legendary Night of Light. After the death of Mendoza, the city of Santa Bard is destroyed by the fight between the knights and the horrors. So after that incident, the craftsmen are trying to create another Night of the Light. Soon the project begins, and they start assembling different parts of the night, brainstorming and coming up with the best ideas to design another night. Julio suggests putting wings on it to aid in flying. Then they proceed with a mouth shaped like a wolf and an armor painted with gold. The next morning, the replica of the knight is complete, and one of the craftsmen decides to wear it, but the armor is so heavy that the man can't move even 1 foot. So a woman suggests that they can try making a self-moving doll, but others think that it's practically impossible to make something like that. Hearing this, Julio replies that he needs one night to think about Miss Petrona's idea of the self-moving doll. Soon, Julio spends the whole night thinking and working on the self-moving armor, and the next morning he shows his fellow craftsmen a motor that will help to move the armor. Seeing Julio's sketch of a new armor, everyone seems to be fired up with excitement, and they start working on the project again. The next day, Camillo, the skilled craftsman, brings a magnificent machine to Julio's workshop. Everyone gathers to admire his work, impressed by its design and fine craftsmanship. The machine is an important new part for the knight's armor, which the team has been working on for a long time. Carefully, they attach the new parts of the armor, and the transformation is stunning. The armor now takes on a godlike appearance, something no one in the workshop had ever seen before. The team is thrilled and full of hope as they prepare to test it. To try the new armor, craftsman Bruno steps forward and wears it. At first, the machine worked perfectly. The movements are smooth, and the armor looks powerful and elegant. But after a short time, something goes wrong. The machine suddenly stops working and smoke begins to rise from it. Bruno struggles to breathe as he steps out of the armor. He is exhausted and shaken, saying that staying inside the machine feels like it could kill him. The mood in the workshop shifts. The team is worried and confused about what went wrong. Just then, Mr. Poncho, another blacksmith who works with Julio, enters the workshop. He carries a large quantity of meat and blood, surprising everyone. Poncho explains that this isn't just ordinary meat, it is a crucial piece of the solution. He observes the armor and points out that the pipes around the waist are moving too much and can't handle the pressure. He predicts that the pipes will break if they keep using the current design. Julio listens carefully and quickly understands Poncho's point. He explains to the group that the parts of the armor designed to move are connected by metal pipes. These pipes strain and tear when the armor shifts, which causes the machine to malfunction. The team realizes that unless they fix this problem, the armor will remain unusable. Poncho suggests a bold and unusual solution. He proposes using a special kind of pipe to connect the pressure device on the back of the armor to the abdomen. Instead of metal, he suggests using pipes made from many layers of intestines, which are flexible and durable under pressure. Poncho reveals that he got the intestines from his pig, Sebastian. At first, the team is shocked by his idea. Using intestines in a machine sounds absurd to them. However, as they think about it, they realize that it might actually work. They trust Poncho's skills and experience, so they agree to give his suggestion a try. Everyone gets to work, focused on making the changes as quickly and carefully as possible. The workshop fills with activity as the team prepares the intestines for use in the armor. They cut and layer them with precision, crafting new pipes to replace the metal ones. Though the idea is unusual, they are determined to solve the problem and make the armor functional once and for all. Soon the intestines are attached and Bruno goes to test it again, and finally they all erupt in joy as the armor starts walking with ease, and this time there are no complications. Julio's eyes are filled with tears as he remembers his dead master who asked him to believe in himself and the work he does. The next day, they take the armor to the town and the crowd look at it in awe. The news about the new golden chamber reaches Alfonso and he asks Luis about it. But Luis tells him that he doesn't have to bother checking that personally because it's probably some kind of advertising group. At night, a woman comes to Julio and his team saying that she has a request for the Golden Knight. Then she tells them that every night a terrifying demon appears which kills their livestock, destroys their fields, and yesterday it killed her husband. Julio reassures the woman that she doesn't have to tell them all the details, but they will make sure to kill that monster. The team arrives at their destination when a massive bear suddenly emerges from the bushes. It growls fiercely, and the team quickly prepares to face it. Bruno steps forward in his armor, ready to confront the beast. The sound of roars and clashes fills the air as the bear lunges at the armor, biting and clawing furiously. Despite the attack, Bruno stands firm, holding his ground against the powerful creature. As the battle rages, a sudden explosion shakes the area, startling everyone. Luis and Alfonso, who are nearby investigating a small village, hear the commotion and rush toward the scene to find out what has happened. Meanwhile, Bruno delivers a strong Garo punch to the bear, but it has no effect. The bear retaliates with a ferocious blow, slamming into the armor and causing it to burst into flames. Realizing the danger, Julio orders Bruno to use a pressure device to eliminate the bear. Bruno understands the risk but follows the plan, determined to stop the creature. He activates the device, knowing it could cost him his life. Before starting, he tells the others to ensure his body is buried if he doesn't survive. As the device builds up power, Bruno tries to escape through the safety latch, but his hand gets stuck in the burning armor. Luis arrives just in time, acts quickly, freeing Bruno from the armor and pulling him to safety. Exhausted but alive, Bruno watches as the device destroys the bear in a final powerful blast. The threat is finally neutralized and the area begins to settle. As the team catches their breath, Prince Alfonso appears. He explains that he came personally to investigate the strange happenings in the village. The team is deeply moved by his dedication and selflessness, knowing he traveled far to ensure the safety of the people. Julio, overcome with emotion, tears up, inspired by the prince's commitment to his duties. The prince acknowledges their efforts, thanking them for their bravery and hard work. Together, they work to extinguish the remaining fires caused by the explosion. The team feels a renewed sense of purpose and pride, knowing they have not only faced a great challenge but also earned the respect of their prince. With the fire under control, the group reflects on the intense battle. Bruno is relieved to have survived despite the close call, and the team feels grateful to have each other's support in such dangerous situations. It turns out that in a small village, a strange man with the face mask of a crow comes to the people and tells them that he is Dar Fabian, the famous wandering doctor who treats the sick. The villagers happily agree to provide him with food, water, and shelter in return for Fabian treating them. In the same village, a man who wishes to become a doctor and escape the village's pathetic conditions visits the doctor's hut one night and asks him to make him his student. But when nobody opens the door, he walks inside but stops on his tracks when he sees the doctor writhing in pain on the ground. He is suffering from plague and the man decides to kill him to take his place. He He chokes Fabian to death, and when he opens his book of medicines, the horror enters inside his body, and he takes Fabian's mask and belongings to fulfill his dream of becoming a doctor. On the other hand, the laundry woman, Miss Simon, kicks a naked German's ass to wake him up and takes him to Dr. Fabian. Louis asks the doctor to let him peek inside his mask, but he denies, saying that a mask makes it easier for people to believe in him. She tells the laundry woman that Louis suffers from no bone injury, so he will heal soon. Soon they walk out of the tent and see a long line of people waiting to be treated by the famous wandering Dr. Fabian. Amongst them, a young snotty boy recognizes Louis as the naked man from before and greets him, and soon they start talking to his mother. The snotty boy doesn't seem to get well, so the poor old woman has come to see the doctor. Louis asks her to trust in Prince Alfonso because he will make their country an easier place to live in. Soon 2 women come to Germany and hug him, saying that he should come to them often, and Semia rolls her eyes in disgust. After seeing all the patients, Fabian gives Ximena a balm for her dry hands and as a token of gratitude for helping him out. The next day, Semia follows Louis to a dark alley where he meets the prince in disguise. The prince tells him that including last night, 10 people have disappeared in the last 2 weeks. Louis believes that it is definitely the work of a horror, and Alfonso shows him the map of where each person lived. Louis realizes that the hunting area is quite large and they can't decide where the next attack will take place and when. He tells Alfonso that he will start with his round the next day so he doesn't have to worry much. Alfonso bows down to thank him, but a gust of wind blows his cape away, and Semia wonders why their Prince Alfonso is secretly mean German. At night, Semia uses the balm Fabian gave to him. The next day, when Louis asks the housekeeper of the inn where Semia is, he replies that she is with the doctor because she collapsed while helping him out yesterday. On the other hand, it was the fake Fabian who transferred the disease of plague in Semia through the balm to make her his test subject and conquer the disease of plague that even the real Fabian couldn't treat. The horror inside the fake Fabian will then consume the body of Semia once she is cured. Soon Louis comes rushing inside the tent and reassures Semia that she will get well soon. Later, Louis thanks Fabian for taking care of the innkeeper woman and walks out of the tent, saying that he will visit again. Louis watches the fake Fabian reveal his true form under the cover of night, transforming into a monstrous horror with sharp teeth. Fabian prepares to attack Semira, but Louis grabs him from behind and hurls him into the nearby tent. Louis has already figured out Fabian's secret. The people Fabian claimed to treat were the very ones he consumed. The fake doctor had been feeding on his patients all along, taking advantage of their trust. Inside the tent, Fabian arms himself with sharp surgical instruments ready for a fight. Louis remains alert, wielding his dagger to counter Fabian's attacks. Fabian hurls the instruments with incredible speed, but Louis skillfully dodges each one, using his dagger to deflect the flying weapons. The tent fills with tension as the 2 adversaries prepare for the next strike. Fabian reveals his twisted logic, believing he has done more good than harm by healing more people than he has consumed. However, Louis knows that such evil cannot be justified, and his duty as a Mackay knight is to protect humanity from horrors like Fabian. Determined, Louis charges at Fabian with his daggers. Fabian, sensing the danger, undergoes a grotesque transformation, becoming an even more terrifying horror. Louis responds by summoning his knight armor, his determination shining through. Their battle escalates as the 2 clash fiercely, exchanging blow after blow. Louis manages to land several deep cuts on Fabian, but each wound heals almost instantly, leaving the horror unharmed. Fabian uses his monstrous strength to punch Louis with full force, sending him crashing to the ground. The impact is brutal, leaving Louis injured and coughing up blood. Fabian, now towering over him, examines his injuries with a strange mix of curiosity and pride. Despite his monstrous nature, Fabian's old habits as a healer resurface. Seeing the extent of German's injuries, he cannot resist the urge to treat him. Forgetting his role as a horror, Fabian retrieves a medicine box and injects Louis with a powerful serum. The serum works instantly, healing German's wounds and restoring his strength. Energy surges through German's body, and he rises with renewed vigor. Fabian's decision to heal him proves to be a grave mistake. German, now fully recovered and empowered, takes advantage of the situation. He transforms back into his knight form and delivers a devastating kick to Fabian's stomach, sending the horror reeling. Fabian retaliates by releasing sharp spikes from his body, aiming to impale German, but the knight's agility allows him to dodge every attack with ease. The battle reaches its climax as Louis unleashes his full strength. His sword glows with energy as he charges at Fabian, slashing through the horror's defenses. Fabian's regenerative abilities can no longer keep up with the relentless assault. With one final powerful strike, Louis pierces through Fabian's core, defeating him. Fabian lets out a horrifying scream as his body disintegrates into smoke, leaving nothing behind. The tent falls silent and the air grows still. Louis stands victorious, his duty as a Makai knight fulfilled once again. The next morning, Semia wakes up feeling refreshed, free from the plague that had held her captive. Louis stays by her side, ensuring she is cared for. He gently reminds her not to overexert herself, assuring her that everyone would worry if she pushed too hard. Grateful for his support, Semia shares a thought she has been holding onto. She admits she always believed Louis was an aristocrat, forced by circumstances to live in their modest town. Seeing his puzzled expression, she explains that she once saw Alfonso bowing his head to him, which fueled her assumption. Louis chuckles, amused by the idea. He calls her a silly but charming woman, remarking that someone as rough and unpolished as himself could hardly be mistaken for nobility. However, he promises to share the full story with her someday. When Semia asks about Dr. Fabian, Louis carefully avoids the truth. He tells her the doctor has left town and asked him to pass along his regards and farewell. Accepting his words, Semia thanks him for taking care of her throughout her recovery. Louis smiles warmly and encourages her to rest and regain her strength.